Welcome to another Mother Runner Radio. This is Sarah in Portland.
This is Dimity on a crazy, crazy windy day in Denver. Sweet. And now we're going to do a total non sequitur and introduce our guest for today. So we're going to go from the Twin Cities Nirvana to skin and dermatologic care for athletes.
So Dr. Jackson, when we originally invited you on the podcast, we knew you as a respected dermatologist and the founder of the Skin Wellness Center in Chicago. But then we quickly found out that you've run 10 marathons, you've done 8 triathlons, and you're the adoptive mother of 3 toddlers. So, wow, your plate is very full. How has your training and racing changed since you've become a mom?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. Certainly there is a level of mommy guilt when you're out there training, but the reality is that in order for me to do the things that I do and try and do them well, I need some downtime for myself. As I tell my patients as well, you have to treat yourself well in order to treat the rest of your life well. So I look at my running and sort of my alone time really as that, my alone time and my recharging time.
That's great. And you're also first of all, how old are your kids, Dr. Jackson?
So I've got twin girls that are 5, and then I have a 3-year-old little boy.
And so we read too that you're like a Girls on the Run coach, right? And you're sewing on patches for some campfire girl thing. Seriously.
No. So I was a girl. I was on the board of Girls on the Run. Things come in and out of my life as I have time for them, and I'm trying to learn how to say no, and certainly what has changed over the last few years, and as my children get older and they have more demands, I want to participate in their school things, so I'm a class mother for my 3-year-old, and for my 5-year-old girls, I am a Daisy troop leader. I sort of have to change the focus, and so I'm no longer involved with Girls on the Run, but that was fun when it lasted. Mm-hmm. And, things come and they go.
Right.
You sound very much, with the exception of, we don't have people who own their own skin wellness centers and are, assistant professors at Northwestern University. I'm sure we do actually in our community, but I think what you talk about is so important that you've got to take care of yourself in order to take care of others. And you, regardless of whether you are a doctor or a stay-at-home mom or something in between, like you get to have that time for yourself. And that's, I love that you preach that even though you're not in like the mental health field, I just think that's really important because that's definitely like the backbone of what we preach at Another Mother Runner as well.
Yeah. I think as a mother, there is no shortage of things that you will ever feel guilty about, and that's never going to stop. So, at some point you just have to get it that, so my personal philosophy, running my own business, having 3 small children, having a marriage, having a dog who was my first child who I feel chronically terribly guilty about, is that it's a lazy Susan. So every day I sort of spin the table, and I get that something on that spinning table is not going to go right. And I just have to approach all of it with, we'll just do the best we can. So whether that's a kid that I have to go take home from school sick, or a patient who is misbehaving, or a vendor who didn't deliver something they were supposed to be delivered, I just roll with it. I have to just roll with it. I cannot get knocked down by all of the pins that are standing up because something is going to fall down, and I can't function that way.
I love that. Well, and before we start talking, we were talking briefly before you came on. So you were aiming for marathon number 11, right?
Yes.
And you were going to run in the Marine Corps, and you got something that Sarah's intimately familiar with.
Yeah, I got plantar fasciitis. And so, let me qualify myself as a runner. I enjoy the scenery. And so I tell my fellow runners that when I look at people who are sort of Boston qualifiers, and this is not at all to disparage those people, but they're very special and there are very few of them. And so the reality is most of us are sort of back of the pack. We're having fun kind of people, and that is exactly who I am. I like to look at the grass when I go by. And if you're running too fast, you will not appreciate it. And so, I like to, really have fun with it, and I'll get through it, just like I tell, I've done 10 marathons. I used to train people on the south side of Chicago, and people are so obsessed with time. And, I think as you get older and the more races you do, and I always tell people, real runners don't ask you about your time. They really don't. I mean, most runners are like, yay, you did it. Good for you. Congratulations, you finished the race. So for anybody who's like, well, what time did you do? You can sort of tell they're not real runners. And,
and then they say, was that marathon in 2 hours or 4 hours
right.
or 6 hours? And you're like, there's a big difference between those.
Right. And then they say, invariably, well, how many miles was that? And then they're not real runners. Right. So you can tell them whatever time. They have no idea what to do with that information. And so, most people who are runners are just like, yay you. And I'll tell you, having run in Chicago now for 12 years, there are people who I know from the lakefront. I know their face. I still have no clue what they do, nor do they know what I do. It's a different world. It's like, when you are in your shorts and you smell like a runner, everybody is on the same playing field. It doesn't matter what you do when you leave there. You could be a judge, who knows? But, we're running the same pace and we're catching up on whatever we watched last night on Real Housewives of whatever.
Right. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we love your attitude, and we probably could just chat continuously about this. But we got some questions about skin and issues like that. So speaking of running marathons, the question of chafing comes up. So what's that all about? And I sort of wonder, why is it I can get a ton one day when I do my 16-mile training run, yet the next weekend my skin is fine at the end of 18.
Yeah, so there are a lot of reasons that people chafe, and it really has to do with friction, rubbing, humidity, moisture, weather. All of these things can play a role in it. And so, when I was coaching, I would always tell people never, the rules are nothing new on marathon day. All of your long runs are really as dress rehearsals for the race, whatever distance that might be. And so a couple of most common areas where women will chafe, certainly around the nipples. And so there's actually something called runner's nipple, and it looks just like a chapped lip. It's just a chapped nipple. And so putting Aquaphor or Body Glide on is a good thing, making sure your bra is appropriately tight. And so you don't want to be the bouncy gal out there. Making sure also wherever the straps rub you. I am also a big fan of sort of the biker shorts as opposed to those little shorts, because those bunch, and wherever there's bunching or rubbing, that's where you're going to have a problem. When those running skirts or skirts first came out, I thought they were super cute, but I'm like, well, that little panty thing doesn't look like it's going to stay where it's supposed to stay. And it was a while. I mean, I lubed myself up. I bought one, super cute, and I was pleasantly surprised. And actually, when I ran New York Marathon in 2010, all these people kept running by me going, your outfit is so cute. And I'm like, it's a pretty skirt.
Nice. We should have known that Dr. Jackson wore a skirt, don't you think, Dimity, from just her attitude from the get-go. So we love running skirts, so we're glad that you love them as well.
Yeah, so cute. So the other places where people may have issues are their toes. And, so you want to make sure that you're wearing the Cool Max or Dry Fit fabric because it's going to wick the sweat away from you. I tend to be a little bit of a gripper when I run, and so I always have little issues with my toes. So I Body Glide or Vaseline my feet before I put my socks on, and that really helps with the friction as well. Yeah. But so on a cold day, you probably won't get as much friction as you will on a hot, humid day where you're really sweaty. And so that's another issue that plays a role in it. But clothes are huge, making sure that you're not bunching.
All right. Well, let's so that's good. So we got Sarah's red, angry thighs taken care of there. And so let's talk about my big problem, which is acne at age 40. I mean, there's nothing right in the universe when I'm still dealing with zits at age 40. And I'm just wondering, is it because do athletes or people who sweat a lot, do we have a bigger chance of it, or is that more common with us?
No, so as a dermatologist, I see, I'm downtown Chicago. Most of my patients are working adults, and so I don't have a lot of teenagers in my practice. And, I tell people all the time, the average age of the acne patient in my practice is 40.
Oh,
So you are actually in very good company. And,
I'm
there's
so on
always,
trend.
yeah, there's a silver lining to everything. I mean, I always try and put the positive spin on it. And the blessing of having acne when you are certain age is that a lot of the acne medications also do double duty, so they sort of do a little bit of anti-aging as well. Yes, if you tend to sweat a lot, you may have a little bit more probably back and chest acne. And so for that reason, after your workout or after you run, you want to make sure that you're getting those sweaty clothes off and taking a shower. But some of it is, most of it is probably just hormonal and bad luck. And, I think the reason people feel bad is when you look at all these commercials, when you look at the stuff in the drugstore, you don't see a 40-year-old anybody. You see a 15-year-old pimply boy, and because that's not you, you think these things are not for you. And I sort of wish that all these advertising people would sort of get with the program that acne is not limited to the 18 and under set. And they would probably do a lot better with their sales if they would include the 30 and 40-somethings.
Exactly.
Because those are the who actually have jobs, who have money, who can actually buy the products.
I'll step up to be the next model. I'm sure they really want a close up of my zits.
Yeah.
So taking off your sports bra is really important, and getting in the shower, it sounds like that's really important.
Yeah, so, once again, I mean, the novice runners are out there, and they're so proud doing their little 3 miles, but they're in the cotton T-shirts. And so, getting out of the cotton, getting back into the Cool Max Dry Fit fabric, the appropriate sports bra, getting those wet, soaked clothes off of you as soon as possible, and making sure that, if you do need prescription medication, you go ahead and get it. But, you definitely want to get that treated for several reasons. I mean, nobody wants to walk around with a face full of acne, but particularly if you have any kind of pigment to your skin, we're talking Asian, African American, Hispanic, any kind of acne or inflammatory process can cause dark marks. And so those actually end up being a lot more difficult to correct than just taking care of the acne.
And then, sort of along the acne line a little bit, I tweeted that we were going to be talking to a dermatologist, and a lot of people were asking about waterproof sunscreen, and that, kind of that plus sweat equals bad acne for some people, or that it, runs into, no matter how much it says waterproof, it runs into their eyes. Do you have any recommendations for what ingredients to avoid in a sunscreen?
Yeah, so I mean that's a great question, and thank you for asking that, because I would be remiss in my dermatologic duties if I did not discuss sunscreen. Mm-hmm. So the FDA, starting December, the labeling requirements are changing, and so it's a little bit confusing now because you see the old stuff and the new stuff on the shelves. But going forward, this is what you need to look for, and this is what you will no longer see. You will no longer see the word sunblock. You will no longer see anything allowed to be called a sunscreen that is greater than an SPF 50, nor will you see anything less than an SPF 15 that is going to be allowed to be called a sunscreen. You will also no longer see the word sweatproof or waterproof, because neither one of those has ever been physically possible. I tell people all the time, if you put on your waterproof sunscreen and you jump in a pool, that oil slick is your sunscreen. So it is no longer helping you. So you want to make sure, I mean, sort of a down and dirty, just to make it simple, when you are doing your training, you want to bump it up a notch. So I would probably go for anywhere from an SPF 30 to 45. Make sure you put on enough. So let's say you're going to be out there in a tank top, shorts, on a summer day running 10 miles. You want to make sure you put on 2 tablespoons or a shot glass, and most of us know what that looks like, full of sunscreen. Okay? That also needs to be reapplied every 2 hours, because regardless of who makes it, how much you paid for it, where you got it, in an effort to protect you from the sun, it is going to break down in the sun. And so this is especially important in people who are doing triathlons or longer distance races. And for those, my friends who are also Velocity Challenge, that are not going to be 3-hour marathoners, be out there for a minute.
Yeah.
We enjoy the scenery. So, I am a 5+ on a good day hour marathoner. So I know that halfway through, when the Kenyan is cashing his winning check, I still have 10 miles to run. So I need to reapply my sunscreen. And so that means you either have somebody meet you on the course or you put something in your fanny pack, and you got to put it back on. And getting back to your point about the burning. So my trick, and, I have a lot of runners in my practice, and they all whine about, not being able to put their sunscreen. And there is no excuse that you can come in here with and walk out of here with me saying, don't worry about sunscreen. That's never going to happen. And so we work with it. And so basically I tell them, put on a baseball hat, put on your sunglasses, because people who work out outdoors are also at increased risk of cataract formation. So everybody runs by the lake here. If you like to run by water reflects back into your eyes, and you will increase your risk of cataracts, so make sure you got your sunglasses. But put your sunscreen on from your cheekbones down. Don't worry about your forehead because you have your hat on. And that way, the sweat is not going to drip into your eyes, or the sunscreen is not going to drip into your eyes and burn.
A follow-up to that, Dr. Jackson, is fabric. I mean, so, a lot of fabrics, when you see them in the store, they got a little sticker on like, SPF 50 or whatever. So, I mean, if I'm going out and I'm wearing like a long sleeve shirt, do I need to put sunscreen on my arm and back, or is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've got like the tech fabric, the tightly woven, so even if something is better than nothing, okay? So,
Sure.
When you see all these people on the lakefront, where I do anyway, I'm like, oh, that guy's a good-looking guy, and of course he must have heard me, so he rips off his shirt, and starts running. But the problem is that even having a cotton T-shirt on is going to give you some protection. Something is better than nothing. So your tech fabric is probably going to give you about an SPF 8 or a 10. Yes, there are tech fabrics that are, SPF 30, 40, 50, but the reality is, too, you're going to spend a lot of money for those things, and after so many washings, how much of sun protection do you really still have in there? And so, I would probably not spend the extra money on a shirt that gives you an SPF 85, knowing that 2 years from now, when you still want to wear that shirt, are you really in it? So you're probably getting some false sense of security with this. You're better off getting in the habit on your exposed skin, put the sunscreen on, and making sure that you reapply. And so do you need to put it on under your shirt? No, but, again, for runners, I personally love the sunscreens that are sprays, because if you are out there by yourself, you can get those things on. Again, when I was coaching and also when I was single, and as a sidebar, I met my husband through running.
Nice.
We are Fleet Feet couple number 8. But, I always tell people, you never know when you introduce yourself and offer to apply somebody's sunscreen where that might lead.
Love that.
Wearing some sunscreen, putting on the spray, that's actually a quick and easy way. And you can get in the middle of your back. You can get behind your legs. You can get those places where you probably would sort of forget to put the cream on. And then a lot of people like yourself who are acne prone, you don't want that thick stuff on you when you're running. I mean, what you would use for training or running is very different from what you would use when you are, in the middle of fall, just getting up in the morning and going to work.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to start training for an Ironman pretty soon, which means I'm going to be doing some double workouts, and I'm going to be in the pool a lot. So I have 2 questions for you. One is, how often do I have to shower? Like if I am doing 2 workouts a day, I live in Colorado, it's so dry. I mean, I feel like I get out of the shower and like my skin immediately cracks. So like for me to shower twice a day feels like a lot. And then the chlorine, I mean, holy cow, I just feel like I look like, one of those like desert landscapes where everything is all cracked at the end, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great question. And things also change very seasonally. I mean, the first thing that came to my head when you said that is, depending on if you work with other people, they would appreciate your showering. So,
we work at home alone. So definitely days go by without either one of us showering. So,
okay. You have to do what's socially acceptable. But so when it is winter, and so in Chicago and a lot of areas in the country, you have very different seasons. And I tell people that just as you change your wardrobe, you need to change your products. And so when you go looking for your sweaters, your kind of cozier clothes, you need to heavy things up. So heavier cream, heavier lotion. When you put that stuff away in the spring and the summer, you lighten things up, bring out your shorts or whatever, then you lighten things up. And so that also means in the wintertime, people are cold, you turn on the hot water, you stay in the shower longer. But you really don't want to do that. So try and avoid the steam on the mirror. Avoid soaps or body cleansers that have a lot of fragrance, because those can also be very drying and very irritating. One of my favorites for showering is Eucerin Calming Body Wash, because it actually has oil in it, and so you're sort of moisturizing and cleansing at the same time. Mm-hmm. Keep it 5 or 10 minutes. Then, again, wintertime, get a jar, something that you actually have to scoop out, because that is going to trap the moisture next to you. In the spring and summer, pump and pour is better. So creamier, thicker, better always. For you, if you're going to be in the pool, chlorine is horrendous for your skin. And so, if you have to choose when you're going to shower for the day, I would definitely shower after you come out of the pool. And you want to get that chlorine off of you because you will start to itch. And then you probably want to moisturize. It is okay to moisturize more than one time a day. You don't have to shower before you moisturize again. And so, it's not a bad thing to put on another layer of moisturizer before you go to bed. Make sure that your home or wherever you're sleeping is well humidified. So, in newer construction, the humidifier is usually on the furnace. Older construction, the heater, whatever, just put a pot of water in the corner of the room. And that's also kind of a cool test to see how dry your environment is, to see how quickly that water goes away. Put some plants in your bedroom. Plants always bring moisture and humidity. But, so you want to shorten the shower, make sure that you have a lot of moisture, avoid scratchy fabrics next to you. So don't put that wool sweater right on top of your skin. Use a silk layer or a cotton layer underneath, and then put the heavier fabrics on. And also make sure that you keep your level of hydration, which is probably not an issue for people who are athletes, but most people tend to be slightly dehydrated during the winter because they're just not feeling thirsty as they do during the summertime. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't have to be water. You can drink it. Liquid is liquid. I mean, as long as it's not vodka, but liquid is liquid. So, keeping water, tea, flavored water, bubbly water, whatever you like, just keep make sure that you're peeing, because that means you need to, and you're well hydrated.
Oh, awesome. You're just a font of I just feel like if I was taking like a quiz, I would have like 1,000 things to remember. This is awesome. You have been fantastic, Dr. Jackson, and I'm afraid we've run out of time, but it's been a real pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, anytime.
Oh my gosh, she was amazing. I got to say that Lazy Susan, I think that's my new kind of visualization for my life. I'm going to spin it. Something's going to fall off every day, and that's going to be okay with me.
Oh, I knew that. So funny, because sometimes I'll take notes during the podcast. I'm like, oh, Lazy Susan, that's really good.
Julia, the only bit of advice of hers I didn't like was that to keep a plant in my bedroom. I almost interrupted her and said, "You mean I've got to keep something else alive?" Like, no. Not going to happen.
I'd have to say, and in living in Portland, you could put a pot of water in your corner of your bedroom, and a month later it would still be there. Whereas in Denver, it would be like evaporated in like an hour.
Seriously.
Oh, goodness. So that was a lot of fun. So thanks for listening in, and we hope to see you on Facebook. We're at Run Like a Mother, the book. Our website is anothermotherrunner.com. We are on Twitter. I'm at SBS on the Run, and she's at Dimity on the Run. And if you like our podcasts, please consider buying one of our books. They're on Amazon, Run Like a Mother and Train Like a Mother. Thanks so much. Many happy miles.